shocking news. You're dead. Yeah, how'd you know?
It took him forever to figure that out.
I have 3 segments to this interview. I'm hoping we get through all 3. Development, character, ending.
Okay, amazing, let's do it.
We'll start with development. The aesthetic of Eternity is amazing.
Oh.
Obviously, the Junction is what we see in all the trailers, but the archive was something that really blew me away when I got to see this picture. Can you talk to me about developing that aesthetic, what you were hoping to go for?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think I love the idea that the Junction itself was like, you were on the, it was a brutalist structure, but on the backlit of a film set where, the idea of heaven for them would have been scenic bluffs. And I really wanted something that would illustrate how you go into memories. So the idea that there's a place you can go, which is almost like a natural history museum of dioramas that you go in and see mini plays of your life. And the background is painted. It's like sparse elements of your memory that are there and almost idealized versions of the experience that you're seeing. So that was kind of the idea, that really excited us, the idea of this tunnel, this kind of a conduit that you can go into and revisit and see your life like a play, which we just loved. And I think we shot all that in one day, which was extraordinary. Lizzie has a record for the amount of hair and makeup changes, I think, for anybody. It was just running around. It was brilliant.
Wow. Was it only you who came up with the different eternities, or did other people kind of submit their own ideas?
It was me. I wrote them. So a lot of them written into the script, things that were really specific, like the commercials you see and some of the other booths that we kind of passed by, like Man Free World. But then I remember just doing a spreadsheet of like names of eternities and taglines and paragraphs, and I would give that to the art department, and they did an extraordinary job with what they created. So yeah, I created all those, which was really, really fun. Yeah, and then but then there was touches that people would come up with that added to them in great ways as well.
Another thing I want to talk about with development before we get into characters is the rules you establish with Eternity. It's very clear of you can't do this or else this happens. How important was it for this, fantastical realm to have structure?
Well, yeah, I mean, like rules give constraints which you need for drama. And so it was really important. The idea that this is a 7-day window in which you get to choose your eternity gave you instant ticking clock for Joan to make her decision. That was really important. The idea that there's a bureaucracy to this place, there's a hierarchy. You can get promoted and demoted. If you stay, you have to get a job. All those things I think added to just the drama for these characters as well as everything else. It added to the humor. And I think everything that's set in a slightly fantastical world, even though this is quite grounded, it needs rules, and you need to believe that the authors know what they're doing in order to just actually relax and go with the characters.
Yeah, I love magical realism. I feel like you got to play with that concept a bit here.
Totally.
It's a hell of a year for A24 love triangles. Materialists is one of my favorite films of the year. One thing we didn't get in Materialists is a one-on-one conversation between Pedro and Chris Evans. You made a big effort to make sure Luke and Larry, Callum and Miles have their own relationship in this film. How important was it for those two characters to not only interact and have those kind of peckish back and forth, but actually develop a bit of a friendship throughout?
It was really important. I think it was so important to me that the relationship between Joan and her husbands isn't the only one, it's between the men. And it was so important that you have the competition with them, but there's a reason she loves both of them. There's something between them that's familiar, and it's really important, particularly later in the film when they're getting drunk together and you realize how much they have in common, and what they really have in common is that they love this woman. And Miles and Callum just were so brilliant with each other. They got on so well, and you feel that chemistry. And I think if you have that, you have to explore it. And I think those actors really did kind of, like I did a lot of little rewrites throughout the pre-production and production, just responding to how brilliant they are. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we put some spotlight on Miles and Callum. I want to give a lot of spotlight to Elizabeth.
We can do an hour on Elizabeth.
Oh my goodness. I feel like she plays two different characters in this film because her headspace with where she was when she was first in love in her 20s versus a 67-year marriage. They're two completely different. Her body language changes. Her vocal inflections change. How much of a luxury was it to get to have an actress of the caliber of Elizabeth Olsen taking on this part? And how much did she evolve who Joan was through her performance?
No, she's staggering in this. I think it's such an extraordinarily nuanced performance, and I think that was absolutely it. Myself and Lizzie spoke a lot about not just how she would behave being an older woman in a younger body again, and how that would affect her voice and her posture, but how she is a different Joan with Luke as she is with Larry, and how she reacts to them, and you know, the joy she might have with each of them is different. And she really developed that over, like, I mean, like you said, her voice changes subtly, her posture changes, how she walks, or kind of brushes her hair. Everything is different with each man, and I think it's just a gift. It's a gift to have an actor of her caliber and her talent kind of come in and craft that with you. And I can gush all day about Lizzie.
Yeah. Did the throwback vibe of WandaVision help?
I mean, I love WandaVision. I think it's brilliant. I think, you know, I'm sure it helped a little bit, yeah.
What I'll wrap with here is I feel like this premise is so genius, and it could blossom into an anthology. You could play with different elements here. There were some lines that I feel like we didn't get full color on.
Yeah.
Specifically, some haven't decided yet, but that's a story for another time.
Yeah.
I don't know if we fully got that answer. And the second one, too, gets more and more confusing. It's Luke and Larry, and then the camera shifts to the buildings in the back. Yeah. And I started to feel a little bit like, is everything as it seems in eternity? Yeah. Did you specifically leave some open-ended questions in hopes of coloring them in later?
Yeah, I think the first line is Anna referencing kind of herself in many ways, and you know, the reason she stayed. And I think myself and Davine, who's extraordinary, we talked a lot about her backstory, and not to include it in the film, but that it would inform her character. And she, you know, she didn't want big exposition. She just wanted to understand why Anna, like where Anna was when she was alive, why she chose to stay here, why other people might choose to stay here, you know. And I think that was really lovely and important. And I love unanswered questions in films. I think it's a nice thing to have. You know, you don't need to give an explanation for everything, but there is an explanation for everything. And yeah, it's a crazy, weird world that I think if you're in there like Luke is for as long as he is, it does just get weirder and weirder over time. And there's a lot to explore there.
Films make us think. That's what's special about him. Exactly. David, this was an absolute joy. I feel like I just ran a marathon in this interview.
It was quick, but I love it. It's great.
We covered a lot of topics here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
My client
Clearly has a very difficult decision to make.
Yeah.